Every day seems to bring a new story about Russia or James Comey or the president's ice cream preferences, and the press has dutifully greeted every single one like it's the worst scandal since Watergate. But if every story is Watergate, is any story Watergate? And if so, which stories are Watergate? Brit Hume covered Watergate. That's why he's Fox News' senior political analyst, and he joins us tonight. Brit, I cannot resist replaying a piece of tape that we played in the previous segment. This is from earlier today on another network. And there's a guy on there called Carl Higbie, who's a former SEAL, had him on here before, and he's trying to make the point to the panel that, anonymous sources are not always right, and maybe we should be skeptical about them. And here's how the anchor responded on that show. Watch this.
Reports. Two former officials knowledgeable of the situation confirmed to CNN the main points of the story. Two former officials. Tell you what, come out, name those people, then we'll have something to talk about.
One, we protect sources. Two, it's not just CNN, it's Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, CNN, ABC,
yeah, but who
NBC.
are the sources?
Carl.
Who are the sources? Oh, because they're hiding behind this anonymity.
Oh,
and that's what we're seeing.
Please, do not even start with me that you're just going to attack sources.
Okay, so
that is ridiculous.
So are you saying McMaster is lying?
I'm not saying McMaster is lying.
Well, he didn't really answer the question.
He didn't answer
he
the
said
question.
Nothing inappropriate.
He said, no, that's his opinion.
That would be.
But that's his opinion.
You cannot say, you cannot attack. Do not attack these stellar recordings of CNN.
Okay.
Now, we don't know if she bit him in the commercial break, but it was moving into that direction. So I guess what struck me is, whenever you think of Carl Higbie's views, he's raising the possibility that maybe there's questions remaining, and that's not acceptable now.
It's always legitimate to question anonymous sources. And sometimes we in journalism have to use them because there's no other way to get the information.
For sure.
And it's, we depend on our own judgment and integrity as to how credible they are. We try, if we're professional about it, to be careful that our own biases are not making us likely to believe things that suit our preferences. But if you're an anchor and somebody's critical of the use of anonymous sources, it seems to me what you don't do is start shaking your finger at the person's face.
Well, I think maybe part of it is, she felt he was attacking their correspondence, but not just their correspondence. The idea that anybody would dare question the received wisdom of the moment, which is that Trump is a tool of Putin, that there's some horrifying buried treasure underneath all of this. Like, questioning that is like a sin. And I just wonder where the press all of a sudden became the group enforcing certainty rather than asking questions.
Well, we're in the most poisonous media atmosphere, I think, that any president, certainly that I, in my lifetime, has ever experienced. I mean, this is way beyond what we saw even with Nixon for much of the time, although he was cordially hated on the left and in most of the media. Certainly George W. Bush was detested by the media to a great extent, but nothing like this. Nothing like Barack Obama was hated on the right, but not to this extent. This is beyond anything I've ever seen before. Now, and the problem for Trump is, of course, that he's unfamiliar with how to operate in this atmosphere. The people around him don't seem to know how to do it.
No.
I mean, the Reagan people knew that they were in a hostile media atmosphere because he was so conservative, but they were seasoned, a lot of them, and they knew how to try to compensate for that. It's not fair that they should have had to do that. It isn't fair that Trump should have to do that, but you do have to do it, and it's part of the skill of the presidency and one of the tools you have to have. You got to know how to plan for that. You got to know how things will be received, which is why if you're in the White House and there's an investigation of someone close to you, as in the case of General Flynn, it's a bad idea to say to the FBI director, even though you feel sympathy for the person under investigation, and even though all you're really asking the FBI director is can you see your way clear, is the way it was quoted, see your way clear to end this. That's not in order to stop the investigation. And we now have sworn testimony since then from the deputy FBI director that there'd been no effort to impede the investigation. So it appears that Comey heard this, responded kind of non-committally, and the investigation went forward. So this was unwise of the president to do that, if in fact he did. But it's not the biggest thing that ever happened. It's not worthy of the all-day firestorm we've been living, or the all-evening firestorm we've been all day and now all evening on this that we've been living through. It's just we don't know enough about it. We don't have the actual memo. We don't have the full context of it. We don't know how Comey actually took it, except to say we know that he said, basically, he understood that Flynn was a pretty good guy, and left it at that. but he didn't seem to be under a lot of pressure to end the investigation. And then, of course, there's the problem. When you fire an FBI agent, you better prepare the way. It's a good idea to have a successor appointee ready to go, someone everybody can trust. For two reasons. One is it's the right thing to do. It takes the focus off the departed person. And if the person is credible, the focus then becomes the confirmation of that person.
Exactly.
So this was clumsy, ham-handed. It's yet to be proved to me that it was corrupt.
Why humiliate people on the way out? It almost always.
Well, it's just bad judgment.
Yeah, it is. Brit Hume, thanks for joining us.
You bet, Tucker.